Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Red Hour. We're back after 2 weeks of a hiatus due to Christmas and work issues. Having to work on the days that I normally do this show, but this is the Red Hour, and we're back. And I'll be so to explain the show is it's a show I do twice in a week where I throw a little chaos into Star Trek by reviewing a random episode. And today's episode is from Deep Space Nine. That's where we left off. Deep Space Nine, Season 3, Episode 25, called Facets. Fascists. No, Facets. I guess I'm so used to hearing the word fascist that you know my brain just wants to go there. But anyway, so hopefully everybody had a good Christmas, and then tonight is the big night, New Year's Eve. I have the countdown and stuff. So, and this is the 50th episode. So going into the new year, will be the fit. We're gonna go into our 50s, and I didn't think when I first started this, I wasn't sure how long I would be going, and I definitely never thought that I would go to 50 episodes, but here we are, and so here's to another 50. I've gained some subscribers since then, and so hopefully going into the new year, we get the channel grows and the algorithm picks it up, and I can start putting notices out on Twitter, which I meant to do today and completely forgot. But anyway, let's get into the episode. So it's Deep Space Nine, Season 3, Episode 25, Facets. So it starts off with Nog is in a shuttle, and it's on the holosuite, and he's practicing for an exam. I guess it's like a precursor to the exam to get into Starfleet. So he's training for this, and he starts off the program. This tells the computer to start the program, and then a few minutes into the simulation, we hear a knock on the glass of the shuttle, and it's Jake standing outside. So he's knocking on the shuttle, and then Nog, who's sitting down in a chair, ends the simulation and then falls on the ground. And Jake tells him, never end a simulation sitting down. And Nog asks him why he's here, and he says that they were supposed to meet like 30 and half an hour ago. So I guess Nog didn't realize that the time had passed. And then so then Quark is so at Quark's bar, he's counting his or he's sitting there. I think he's counting latinum, or he's counting something, and he doesn't like the idea of Nog going into Starfleet Academy or trying to go into Starfleet or whatever, and that suggests that Nog should work at the bar with his father, and or stay in the private sector, and points to Jake, who wants to be a writer, and Nog says that there's no money in writing, and Quark says that there is money in writing if you write like holosuite simulations, and Nog just basically he doesn't want to do that. He's hell bent on going into Starfleet Academy. So then we see Odo and Bashir talking in the corridors, and basically, Quark says he's got to go. Rom shows up and takes over. He's got to go. That Jadzia Dax wants to meet him for something. So then we see Odo and Bashir talking, and they too have been summoned to this meeting. So we get Lita, who at the time is dating Bashir. We get Odo, we get Bashir, we get O'Brien, Cisco, and Kira, and they're all sitting in the conference room, and Jadzia approaches them, and she wants to go through this ceremony that all the Trill go through. It's called a Gintara. Basically, what it is all the past hosts are able to talk to the current host, and the point is they talk to each other about their experiences and how that reflects on the current host. And then, but it takes a guardian, a Trill guardian who's usually not joined with a symbiote to transfer the, I don't know, soul or memories or Katra, or I don't know what exactly how it works, but they transfer it from Jadzia to the people that are in the that she has chosen. And the teaser ends with because they're saying, why are we here? And she says that she says, I'd like to borrow your body your I'd like to borrow your bodies for a few hours. And then that's the end of the teaser. So then, so basically the memories, she goes on to explain that the memories are implanted onto them. So the past memories of the past hosts are implanted onto the person that they're transferring it over to. But the consciousness of that person still remains and can take over at any time. So then I think Quark mentions, what about Joran? And Joran was a past host who was a musician who murdered somebody. And she says that Captain Cisco, or I don't know if he's captain, I don't remember. I think he's captain at this point, but she says that Cisco has already volunteered to take that spot. So Quark, initially, he's like, he doesn't want to go through with it because the host that's taking over his body is a female, and then but Jadzia like rubs his lobes and talks him into it anyway. So then then it switches to Nog and Chief O'Brien, and he's talking about how Nog is going to have to do a stress test, a stress reaction test. And Nog says that he had been training for a flight simulation. And O'Brien tells him, well, we don't test you for what you've been training for. We test you on what you're not prepared for. So then the Guardian arrives, and they begin this ritual, and so there's like a flame, and he chants these words and stuff, and Kira is the first one, and her the spirit or whatever goes from Jadzia to Kira, and she wakes up, and her name is Leela, and they go through a couple of questions, ask each other a couple of questions about the process to make sure that the transfer was truly established, and Leela answers the questions correctly, um, and they have a pleasant conversation. Her and Jadzia have a pleasant conversation. She's walking around. She's very cheerful. She has her arms behind her back, and Dax notices this and says, I do that too." And she explains that she was the first woman on the council and used to talk with her hands like this, and noticed that other council members were kind of copying her. So she decided to just walk around with her hands behind her back. And Jadzia mentions that she didn't know that. And Leela says that, that's the whole point of this, is getting to know your prior selves, your prior hosts, and understanding why you are the way you are today. so then, so to me, it's kind of like leaping. If you ever watch Quantum Leap. Um, so then, Chief O'Brien is next, and his host's name is Tobin, and he is a scientist, and he's biting his nails, and Jadzia tells him to stop it because Chief O'Brien wouldn't like it when he goes back to see his nails being bit like that. And he says that he's nervous, and he's sort of like a nerdy type, like I said, a scientist, and she talks about this theory that he had come up with, that she had like continued to work on, or somebody had continued to work on. Then we see Lita, and I didn't catch the name of her host, but she's a gymnast, and says that Jadzia had found a good body for her. And then we get to Quark, who again is another female, and is brushing Jadzia's hair and talking about being pregnant and having babies and all this stuff. And then Quark wants to come and say something, and he's complaining about how this is taking too long, and how much longer is this going to be? And she assures them that it won't take that much longer, and basically tries to be sweet on him and stuff. Then we get to Bashir, and I didn't catch that host's name, and I guess I could look it up and do a process of elimination, because we revisit some of these hosts again in one form or another. But anyway, Bashir's sort of like munching on some snacks, and I guess he was a pilot that gets killed, and that then later on there's another episode where we deal with the wife of him. So, and that's when Jadzia and they have a romantic relationship. Then we get to Cisco, which is Joran, and Odo. They're in Odo's office, and Odo's basically asking Cisco if he's like, "Are you sure about this?" You sure about that? And and Cisco says, "Well, we're going to be in a holding cell, and that should hold him. He won't be able to escape." So uh, they bring Joran into Cisco's body, and he kind of talks to Jadzia, kind of like Hannibal Lecter is talking to Clarice. It's kind of creepy, kind of that kind of tone, that kind of vibe, and tells her that she's a pretender. Tells her that she's pretty, but that's all she'll ever be, and she's not worthy of the Dax symbiote. And it starts to put doubt in her mind that she should even be a host in the first place. And um, he kind of taunts her a little bit, and he tests the force field, and I think he brings up Curzon and how Curzon didn't believe in her or whatever. So he starts testing the force field, which is obviously hurting Benjamin, his body. And she says to let it go and to stop it. And she tells Benjamin to take over. And he does. So they open the force field, and she says, "Thank God that's over." And then he grabs her and starts to choke her out. And so basically, he was just faking it. So then they get into a fight, and um, Jadzia eventually beats him, and they close the force field back up, and then Benjamin takes over and thanks her, and she says, "For what?" And he says, "For not breaking any ribs." So that does um, bring up an interesting question, which I don't think is ever really addressed. Is are human or the Trill stronger than humans? Because she obviously can go up and fight with Worf, um, with the Bat'leth and stuff. And then the other question is, how much stronger are Klingons to humans? And then I guess we sort of find a middle ground, or figure out the answer in the middle. But I don't think there's an answer. Um, so back at Quark's bar, Rom is pacing back and forth because Nog is taking this test, and Quark is like counting his latinum. This is the moment where I forget what Quark was doing in the beginning. He's counting his latinum and tells Rom to stop worrying, stop pacing back and forth. He's trying to concentrate. And then Rom pulls out this gift box which has a cadet's uniform in it. And Quark tells him that Nog's not going to need it. He says why. And he hesitates at first, and then he says that if he gets into Starfleet Academy, they'll issue him a uniform. And Rom says, well, he'll have two now. So then Cisco and Dax are talking about the whole joining program and all the doubts that Joran had put into Dax's Jadzia's head, and he suggests to her that to bring it up to Curzon when it's time for Curzon. So she agrees that that's the best course of action. So then Odo takes Curzon's soul or whatever and he gets spots, and his hair kind of grows out a little bit. And they say that it's due to Odo's like shape shifting ability, and there's sort of like merged more than the others. Like their personalities are more merged. Um, and Curzon visits Quark and kind of messes with him a little bit because he talks to him like he's like Odo would talk to him, but then like kisses him on the forehead and orders a drink. And then Cisco, Curzon, and Jadzia are there talking. Cisco says that he has to go, and then that's when Jadzia starts to bring up the whole the program, the symbiote program, and how she had failed one time, or he failed her, but then she came back and was able to pass the second time, which is she's the only Trill that's ever done that in the history. But he wants to go gamble and play. What was it, Damjat? Uh, he wants to play gamble with this Ferengi that Odo had known was on board and was a big gambler and stuff like that. So he's playing with them, and then turns out, and she's playing with them as well. Turns out Nog had failed this test, and Rom is like, "Oh, I don't know what went wrong. I mean, you were doing fine," and then they go away, and then I think it's like the next day, Jadzia, there's another opportunity to talk to Curzon about when she was in the program, and he says that he knows that she wants to talk about this, and she says, why did you let me back in? And he says that he felt sorry for her. He then tells her that he has decided to stay in this body with Odo, and that Odo had also agreed. And then the Guardian guy, they go to him to see if that's fine, like would that mess with her memories and stuff like that, and he says that she would be fine. So she's a little distraught, and she says, "You know what? I don't even care. I don't want him to go back into my memories and stuff." And then Cisco pulls her to the side and says wants to talk to her in private, so they leave. And he tells her, basically encourages her to stand up to um, Curzon, because in the past, when he was friends with Curzon, he had to do the same on occasions because sometimes he was a little arrogant and wouldn't listen to people. Sometimes he would, but sometimes he wouldn't. And when he wouldn't, and Cisco knew that he was right, he would stand up to him, and uh, oftentimes that would work. So then we see Quark walking through the corridors, and like Rom jumps him, and he tells him that he knows that Quark, like, basically changed the program or cheated or whatever to make it so Nog would fail. And he's already talked to Cisco about it, and so Nog is gonna have a second chance at taking this test. Then Jadzia confronts Curzon and talks about how, why did you wash me out the first time, and he tries to intimidate her, and she says that she won't be intimidated, and he ends up apologizing and admits that he was in love with her, but he knew because she was like a student and he was like the teacher. That's not the terms they use, but whatever. Similar type of situation. He was subordinate. Um, that's why he washed her out so that they could be together. But then he felt guilty and realized that he was wrong to do that. So when she reapplied, he he felt better about the situation, and he knew that she was always fit to be a host, and let her and agreed to let her back in. So then we see Bashir and Chief, and another part of the conversation was that he also felt that's part of why he felt that he should stay in Odo's body, and she says that she doesn't want that, that she loves him, not in love with him, but loves him, and that she wants that memory back to be a part of her. So then we see Bashir and Chief at Quark's shooting darts, and Nog had passes the test this time, and is in his uniform, and Cisco congratulates him, and then Nog orders a root beer from Quark and explains that it's an old ancient Earth drink. And then Odo shows up and wants to talk to Dax and apologizes for his behavior as Curzon. She said there's no need to apologize, and that Dax had never realized how happy it made Odo feel to be a changeling, and how happy it made him. And and then Dax replies that she never realized how, or no, Odo replies that he never realized how much it makes the solids feel happy to be able to eat and drink and stay up late at night and do things like that and party or whatever. So they both have a better understanding of each other. So I think overall it's a good episode, and I couldn't decide on. So what I wrote down was a 6.5, which is above average. That's in terms of letter grade. That's what a D plus. But and the more I think about it, I think it deserves a 7, because it explores the Trill and their society, and like more mythology, adds more mythology to their society, even though they don't really explain how this consciousness transfer really works. And if you think about it, it's like, well, then you're never really dead. You could just bring somebody back to life through those means, like Curzon wanted to do. You could just find somebody that then what's the whole point of having the symbiote in the first place? And I don't. So a host becomes the symbiote in a way. So yeah, I mean, on the surface it doesn't. If you really on the surface it works because it's a sci-fi concept, But if you dig deep and really think about it, it doesn't work. But it's Star Trek and it's whatever. Uh, Another thing that I like about it is that it's a um, character driven episode. So it's and Dax is a fan favorite. Jadzia is a fan favorite, you know, and they build on upon it later on with Esri, and she has her gymnastic abilities, and she revisits Joran when there's a murder mystery on the station, um, which they didn't know they were doing that at the time, but still. So it builds its character development. It's character development for Odo and Curzon. You know, it's not a whole lot, but it's enough. And there's a little bit of character development for Quark, who begrudgingly accepts the idea of Nog going to Starfleet, although he says at the end that it's the end of Ferengi civilization, which is not true. And but so I guess he's, like I said, begrudgingly accepts it. So I guess that does bump it up, and the B plot was minor but important for Nog's development and moving him forward into Starfleet, which he had expressed to Cisco that he wanted to go to Starfleet earlier in the season, and sort of had to prove himself then too to Cisco in order for Cisco to even agree to allowing him to do the training or whatever. Uh, so, and it's the penultimate episode, and before we get into, and this is the beginning. They searched. There was a earlier episode where they were searching for the Jem'Hadar. They're trying to make peaceful negotiations with the Dominion. Um, Odo has not found the founder's homeworld yet, but so we're moving into what becomes the Dominion War. So this is a nice little episode that's not all of that, but moves the story forward ever so slightly. So that's, I can appreciate that. And then I don't know, I don't remember what the next episode is, but that's gonna lead into, you know, the war. So I see that Michelle Fairy Tales is here. I want to thank you for showing up. Um, yes, it's my 50th episode. Um, so let's try to get another 50. Um, so I'll be back here tomorrow. So for 51 for the 51st episode, and then next Wednesday there will not be a red hour on next Wednesday, but next Thursday there will be. So I have to work next Wednesday because right now I'm on a vacation. So, um, so apparently I had closed out. I had to restart the random generator because it's right now it's on another Deep Space Nine episode. So I'm gonna randomize again and see where we're at. Another Deep Space Nine episode. So I guess The universe is giving me a vacation from Voyager. This is Deep Space Nine, Season 2, Episode 34 or 24, The Collaborator. I'm pretty sure I haven't done that one. No, yeah, I haven't done that one. So that one, don't remember that episode. I assume it has something to do with the Kardashian, Cardassian, not Kardashian. Um, the occupation. So the collaborator. So I will be reviewing the collaborator tomorrow night, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern. Again, thanks Michelle Fairy Tales for stopping by. Thanks for anyone that is lurking. And anyone that watches this in the future. For some reason, on my channel, this stream is not showing up. Because I was going to give myself a like, but guess not. Anyway, Michelle Fairy Tales says she's glad it's not a Voyager episode. And also says that I hope 2026 is a good year for you. I hope it is too for everybody. I hope the economy gets a boost. I hope things just get better all around.